Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Merger of two independent small businesses. Our show today is Strategic Merger because these gentlemen found an opportunity with one another to maximize their services because each of them contained features and services complementary to the other. So they decided to merge their competencies into one firm. One is the web developer and designer, while the other is the marketer. Their alliance is a one-stop shop for web and app development, as well as digital marketing, that they now call AdLineUp Renovatio. Please welcome to the show business owners Chizzy Awaga and David King. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being in our studio today. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, we had a merger of basically my company previously, which was a web development and app development company. I have a whole team of developers, and that was our main focus. But I realized I was missing the whole aspect that integrates into that field, which is essentially marketing. So ended up meeting
Enter right, Mr. Chizzy.
Actually just came on the scene because that is my expertise and things that I've, just worked on different clients with were, just more so in the math amplification of marketing, right? It is actually what we like to call it. So, just like we've kind of talked about on so many occasions, he builds the assets and I drive people to it.
Awesome.
Right. So,
awesome.
So then that is just exactly how this happened.
Oh, that's great. So you guys have now created under one umbrella what you guys consider a one-stop shop, right? So it seems that everybody can get everything under the sun around digital marketing, web. Tell us a little bit more about that. So what is your product and service, if you can give us some more details around it?
Okay. Just like we talked about, I actually build it and, he actually builds it and then I just drive people to it. So ultimately, there are different platforms by which businesses or people who have different concepts can essentially have as active marketing nodes as to how people can ultimately get to them, right? So whether it's actually just from a web real estate scenario or whether it's actually from like a social media platform, things of that nature, we're not just talking we're not just speaking solely that is about managing the content that is on a strategic basis, but more so being able to use those platforms and using kind of like the back end, quote unquote, of those platforms to essentially drive people to either those native pages on those platforms or ultimately to a website, which ultimately leads to a conversion.
That's great.
Right, and that is just kind of like an overview as to how this essentially works, whether it's via Facebook, via LinkedIn, like all the sponsored posts that you actually see, there's a lot of thinking and kind of targeting that actually goes into creating that strategy, the tactics, the ongoing management of all these different aspects, just based on whatever the client ultimately wants or actually based on what the market feedback is. But then it's yes. So then that's this end.
Yeah, and then on my end, I essentially create the platform that user will be going to and interacting with. So I have to psychologically think, how am I going to make sure that I can make this person come to this website or come to this app or progressive web app and have them convert to be either a customer, sign up for some newsletter.
Client subscribers.
Yep, exactly.
So what I have my own website, right? I'm a small business owner. And I come to you and I said, hey, I need more traffic on my website. Are you rebuilding my website? Are you creating another landing page? What does that mean when you say, to build and to bring people to it? Does it have to already exist? How does that work for you?
So as from a developer standpoint, my main focus is on the solution.
Okay.
So you'll tell me what your problem is.
Okay.
And you'll say, hey, I feel like I can get more customers. What could I do? And I'll review your entire digital asset, what you have already. And using my knowledge and expertise, I'll suggest, hey, you can actually create a funnel where we can have an ad that will bring people directly to this funnel.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then create some type of incentive where they opt in. Now you have their email, you can reach out to them and start like creating a customer relationship with them for them to end up getting into a service or whatever else you provide. That's just one example.
Okay.
There's multiple avenues that you can use.
That is on the marketing end of things, you know, like I do just entirely, that is agree with that. Essentially, one will have to say, okay, what is it that you ultimately want? Because people's minds change over time. Businesses actually go through evolutions, right? But people still keep the same site, right? Which doesn't make sense when I think about it. It should always be changing based on your market feedback. So we could actually say, hey, we believe that we need to have a better user experience, or actually just have like a main funnel sequence, which, you know, we then actually go into actually having that conversation, but it actually starts with what is it that you actually want, right? You are the hero of your own, that is of your own particular business. So whether it's actually a marketing objective that has to do with maybe traffic, maybe has to do with some sort of high-level conversion across different aspects that you have on the website, that is the very first start. And we just try to make sure that we can actually have an impact as far as those, those assets on the website that actually tie directly into the KPI based on the first conversation.
So I mean, and I'm glad you said that word KPI, because for folks that don't know, your key performance indexes, right, or indicators, and that still may not, I want to say, mean something to folks, because what you guys do is, it's one new, right? I mean, social media really hasn't been around, right? Millennials especially, they may think like this has been, you know, around since forever, but technology is still growing, fast but growing. How do I know? You know, there's a lot of social media platforms out there. SEO, for instance, we talk about some of these technical words that people kind of think they know something about, but they don't. But you're saying now, hey, what are your KPIs? What if I don't know them? You know, how do you help the persons that come to you, the business owners that come to you, to help them understand what does good look like? How do you do that?
Well, if I can just pick this up. So ultimately, it is all an economic play for the most part. So what we do is, rather than actually follow the money, we actually start from the money and then actually go upstream. Right? So you ultimately want to make revenue, or maybe sometimes you just want to just raise brand awareness. But, you know, usually it is an economics play. So we actually start from where that is how people make their money, and then we now start to go upstream. Based on that, we can actually state, okay, these are the various junctures that you have to essentially hit to ultimately have that is opt-in, which he actually spoke about, to ultimately get people down to the bottom of the funnel, which is actually them making the conversion, right? So that is how we actually start, because everyone has different pieces and different ways as to how they actually make their money or have brand awareness. But we start from there, and then we now just start to go upstream up into what we call like a cold contact scenario, whether it's from like a social media standpoint where someone sees a piece of high-level content that actually just attracts them. And then once we actually define that, then we can now say, okay, these are your KPIs based on the juncture. And, you know, we actually work together to make sure that that user experience towards that particular, you know, conversion is of an optimal, really attractive modern level.
And I would add to that too. It's like, also from my back end, I'm also looking more at how the business operates and seeing if there's any loopholes or any holes that I can fill or automate, so that it makes it that much easier on the company or the entity. So adding leverage is massive. And the way I look at digital tools and assets, they are tools. So you can use that to automate things, bring leverage to your business, and streamline things, so there's less stress on you, there's less tasks that you have to do, and it's more of you checking in and creating freedom, which is essentially, I feel personally, every business owner is like, that's their main goal. They wanted to get in there, provide a service to people, but but also create freedom for themselves so that they could create freedom for others.
Great.
Exactly.
So we're going to continue this conversation when we come back from our break, so folks can really understand this is what you do to come and work with AdLineUp Renovatio, but also because you're different. You guys are a recent merger, and I know people want to understand, how did that work for you? How did you even come to be? So we want to get into that because you guys have a great story. So we'll be right back with the Black Business Alliance show with AdLineUp Renovatio.
You know something? Hartford's strength is the people. They're independent thinkers and love their city. So how did Hartford fall into the hands of rogue policymakers? Well, to start, this rogue group spent nearly $1 million putting themselves on the inside and leaving you out in the cold. What if I told you that $5 can be the difference between a Hartford with hope and vision or a Hartford that is in perpetual decline, increasing crime, and an educational system going nowhere fast? Your $5 contribution to our team is a statement that you are investing in Hartford's future. Your $5 contribution to McCauley for mayor will make you a member of the team, and together we will explore the possibilities. More than that, you will be demonstrating that Hartford's people are ready to make a stand. Withstand. Our goal is to get the support of 5,000 people who live, work, and play in Hartford. I'm asking you to make a bold statement by contributing $5 right now, today. If you believe in Hartford and its people like I do, make that contribution. And together we will show Connecticut that the people of Hartford care enough to do our part. We are ready to pick up the ball and run. The people of Hartford are back in the game, and we're in it to win. My name is J. Sam McCauley, and I approve this message.
Hello, welcome back to the Black Business Alliance show. I am Guilaine Menefee, your producer and host. In today's studio today, we have AdLineUp Renovatio with Mr. Chizzy and Mr. David King. Now, David, you just left off with, before the break, you were getting into what I think most people, when they think about technology, they think of, which is convenience, ease, right? Making your life better. That's what we think of technology ultimately. It's one of the tools, as you guys mentioned. So when it comes to the services that you provide and the objectives of your services, I think that that's a really key point, maybe if you could elaborate, where you were talking about how ultimately your digital marketing and the web design and driving traffic and to somebody's website, all of that still has to do with the convenience of making someone's operations better.
Yes, precisely. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'll give you an example. So let's say I have a business that wants to create an app. The very first thing that I'll do is I'll ask, how does your business operate, from a customer calling in to the different segments of your business, here and there. So that way I can look at, hey, there's something here that we can probably automate that will save you this much money because you don't have to pay for this service, and we can actually integrate it into the app and have that information right there, ease of access, etc. And then, okay, there's something here that I noticed, there's a loophole that's right here. There's another, actually something that I'm aware of that we can implement here that will save you even more money and increase your profits. So automation is
possible with your services.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How about if you can explain a little bit the buzzword that I think some people misunderstand a lot, which is called SEO.
SEO.
So I know that this is your wheelhouse and just something you guys know by the back of your hands, but most people don't. What does that mean?
So Search engine optimization, for those who actually just don't currently know. So ultimately, when you have a business, you do actually want to talk about it, right? And you know, of course, there are actually just different concepts that actually all relates to your particular, you know, business and core values, things of that nature. So you say, hey, I want to write a blog about this, right? And this blog is maybe going to be like a 500-word, you know, blog. But in this day and age, you're actually just competing with so many different people that sometimes you don't want to get into what we call, you know, that is actually the PPC aspect, which is actually the pay-per-click scenario, which is a specialty of ours. But there are things that you can ultimately do to actually drive traffic, but in a more so organic way, where you have this piece of content that is in a Word format which you have created, but there has to be some sort of in-depth research using a whole bunch of different tools to actually just state, hey, these are the buzzwords that is in relation to this particular industry. So when people ultimately search from an organic standpoint, if I have actually optimized, at least for this year, for example, these words being in this piece of content, Google, of course, ranks this higher, or let's say Bing, or just a whole bunch of different search platforms essentially just rank that higher. So ultimately, when people are actually just looking for something related, there is a much greater chance that they could actually click on your particular link and then read your information, and then of course
you're using the right
yes,
words.
exactly, and that now becomes part of your sequencing ultimately to then actually have a conversion, things of that nature. But once, you know, like once Google sees that there is, well, like we use Google as that is as a replacement, you know, just pretty much for search. But the thing is, once Google sees that you know, like you have a lot of interaction that is on that link, it does actually just take a rank and score higher.
Okay.
But every single year, you have to keep looking at that piece of content and then reanalyzing and, you know, re-optimizing with different words, or, you know, just make it much more relevant for that particular time period. So there is a lot of, you do have a lot of soft and hard, you know, skills and strategies that actually go into that creation. But
and that's what brought
That's
you guys together,
right?
Yeah. So
exactly.
maybe you can tell us about it, because I know when you guys talk about your merger, y'all are excited, and no, that is great to see, to have a partnership that is flourishing, right?
Exactly.
And I use that expression with you guys. It was love at first sight, but because you guys are just a recent merger, right? So you're still in your honeymoon phase. So tell folks about exactly what you were just talking about. You know, you guys have complementary competencies. Soft and hard skills that go into the intricacies of what you do. But there's something particular that brought you two together. Tell folks about your merger.
Okay, so yeah, we'll bring it back. So I'd say it was actually before Christmas, and I had the initial not necessarily,
well,
yeah. So I actually was in a local lounge in downtown Hartford, and I was actually working on rebranding my website because I had brought on 2 new developers and they had new skill sets. So I was like, okay, let me add this into here. I'm gonna like rebrand the whole website, change it up, refreshing it, etc. I got invited to a birthday party that was going down in the bar downstairs, and through that invitation, I was kind of like, I don't really want to go. Like, I'm already like all focused, working, etc. I don't want to break that grind. So I was like, after about 2 hours, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to finish up what I'm doing and I'm going to head down there, because my thing is, if someone invites you to something, there's a potential that's going to lead you to somewhere that you weren't expecting.
It's an opportunity,
Exactly. So I went with it, met a couple great people there, including Chize as well too. And from there, we actually ended up meeting the next day to have a meeting about our services and whatnot, because we realized, like, hey, we actually have something here. Like, it's very rare to find somebody that's like our age that's very focused on like setting goals and achieving them.
Dedicated.
100% dedicated. Like, that is rare in my opinion. Like, I would say I only have one other person who's another business partner with me that's like operating at that level.
And you know, it is funny because you were actually just working prior, because I had my laptop, because I was a friend of that person, but I had my laptop much earlier, working. You actually probably were on the ledge close to the window.
Yeah.
And I was just behind you, just
Yeah,
just a
had
couple
no
of seats
idea.
back, just
No
there
idea.
working for just about 2 hours or so, and then just went down there, talked, found out that there was that we had a lot of we had a lot of similar core values. That is as
Yes.
far as being
Yeah.
able to go and get. So we just started talking, and it was just like I'm pretty much a whole lot.
Yeah,
of
but
fireworks
I
there.
why I like your story is because it's a great example about a different way to look at expanding your
Yeah,
business,
exactly.
right? You grew your competencies, both of you at the same time, now still just under one house, but you grew your competencies by merging.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that's a opportunity that a lot of people think about,
Exactly.
because you kind of are like, mine,
So protective.
yeah, but you guys let go a little bit so you can bring a lot more in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would say there's one saying that I have. It's like, an innovator never needs to worry about competition because they're always creating. So it's like
That's
it's either
awesome.
a creator mindset or a competitor mindset. The
That's
competitor is
excellent.
always looking over their shoulder to see what other people are doing.
True.
The creator's in their zone because they know what they're creating is completely unique.
That's
and
right.
even if it might be similar to somebody else's creation as well too, it doesn't matter because they're just creating.
Yeah.
So having that mentality, it's like I'm open to like merging.
And that's
with
why
them.
you were
Yeah,
open
yeah,
to
It's-
share competencies.
It's from like a core entrepreneurial aspect, you do get that is just involved in a whole number of things, and you understand that you need people, right?
That's
I think
right.
someone actually said this. It's like your dream is not big enough if you don't feel that you need people.
That's
Even if
right.
it's hard to work with people sometimes, you just understand that there is a value that they have, and there is something that they
Absolutely.
have.
You can't be
So,
successful by yourself.
Yeah, you just can't
Absolutely.
be
Exactly.
at all. So bring everyone to the table, work together, and just truly just make it happen. 'Cause,
Exactly.
that is the way that this stuff works.
Absolutely.
much.
I want to continue talking a little bit more about what makes you guys so strategic. That's our show today, Strategic Merger, because you were able to see that opportunity, that silver lining in the
Exactly.
other person, and now you guys are flourishing as a merged business.
Exactly.
And I think people just want to understand how do you work together,
Exactly.
because I think that is it's a genuine concern,
Yeah.
right? When you're
Yeah.
your own boss, you make the decisions yourself. But now to be accountable with somebody else, it does bring a different element, like
Exactly.
marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but I think folks are going to want to know a little bit more, and I'd love to have you share that because you guys, again, have a fantastic story. So we're going to be right back with AdLineUp Renovatio. We're going to learn a little bit more about their merger, their partnership, and what makes them such a fantastic company to know in Connecticut. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome again. Guilaine Menefee, your producer and host of the Black Business Alliance Show. And in the studio today, we have AdLineUp Renovatio. They are a recent merger, and we were just talking about that right before the break, about why they found a different way of going after the development and expansion of their core competencies. They merged together. Tell us a little bit more about why this works for you. Why are you two a right fit for each other?
So I think the main thing was, I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but it had to be. I was already looking to integrate marketing because I had to learn some of it from creating a website standpoint, or even apps as well too. There's all these ads and everything that funnel into apps, funnel into websites to bring more business, conversions, etc. to those platforms. So I had to learn that. However, that wasn't necessarily my passion. And my thing is, like, if I'm not very passionate about something, I'll hire somebody who is, so I can delegate that task to them. Yeah. So when I saw him and we met and he told me what he did and I told him what I did, it was like, ding, like that's something that actually, like, it goes together like a perfect puzzle piece. And even from like a personality standpoint too, like I as a developer, I have to really be like emotionally intelligent. I have to basically work on people's emotions, like the user interface, it has to bring emotions.
That's right, it's called experience.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
I have to create that experience that the app or website is seeking to create and convey to the person who's viewing it or using it. So being aware of that, it's like I'd say I'm more like emotionally like aware per se, but then on Chize's side, like his personality, he's more like logical and like analytical with everything. It's like we both have a little bit. It's like
it actually just merges together, and you know, it is interesting how that is how they say opposite, you know, people essentially just attract, right? That is opposite personalities, but there is this underlying fundamental strong hustle that actually exists as a theme, and I think that that is where the trust essentially stems from, right? Because the hustle is the thing that is actually inward to us. Everything else from like a logical and analytical standpoint, pretty much on my end, is an outward projection that is of one skill set. You know, you actually just having that's emotional, that is intelligence as far as the user experience is concerned, is an outward projection of your skill set. But fundamentally, what we actually just project inward is the hustle. Like, what do I have to do? Like, all these different aspects. So being able to really understand that, especially from a merger standpoint, the fundamental theme of that hustle mentality, so to speak, is actually where the trust is then actually developed to say, hey man, you're actually great at this, and I'm actually, you know, great at that. Let us actually move forward. So from a merger standpoint, the trust is an essential thing. If you look at the
I mean, the hustle aspect of it, I hear respect as well, right?
Yes.
And understanding where that other person is coming from, and then respecting their craft, knowing that you're a master of your craft, you're a master of your craft, and you guys can do that under one umbrella. But trust is such a big deal, right? Ultimately, that does have to be the middle of the partnership. And I know when we talked previously, that was the first thing that you stressed the most, because folks are probably like, hey, how does that really work to have a merger of the minds, if you will. What are some other things that you have as just fundamentals between both of you to make this work, to make this continue to grow with both of you at the helm? How do you manage together?
Okay, if I can just add to that. So there's a core structure, right, that we all have to sit down and then just agree on saying, okay, because again, you have to look at the economics of, that is of everything. Essentially, they say, for the money, but starting with the money, you can actually solve a whole bunch of issues, or you can actually solve a whole bunch of issues that are actually all predicted. So we actually stated, hey, from a funds coming in perspective, how do we essentially structure this so that, you know, this is actually based on, you know, merit work, and still have it actually have like a cyclic nature, where there is this particular central pool that is within our business, where the work of one person adds to that pool, the work of the other adds to that pool, sometimes actually just based on what the work is. Someone could actually have more of the funds than the other, but you know, just as long as there is a certain percentage being put towards this one pool, and we have we have actually something of like an equal share scenario based on a quarterly standpoint. It still gives us the strong feeling that what someone is doing also still works for me, and what I'm doing also still works for them. So that way we just it's like like
so you guys are all contributing to the same pool. You know how and it may not even be this 50-50, right? They even talk about that in marriage, right? That there's kind of really no such thing as a true 50-50, but it's valuing at the same rate, both of what you do and making sure that that's contributed to. The other thing too, when you talked about trust and then your structure, but communication was super big to you.
Massive.
And you talked about how you guys are very open and transparent with each other.
Yeah, you have to be, because there's so many like moving pieces. Like I have my own development team, and then he has his own team as well too. Exactly. Yep, and we're basically managing them, making sure that our clients as well too have like someone that's talking to them, making sure that they're engaged, the whole nine. So communication is key. Like you can't really go dark per se, in a sense. Like you have to be open. So it's like every day, like we're just making sure like, hey, this is what we got to do today, and we're bringing this out, and boom. And then next day, it's like, all right, what's next? We finished that yesterday. So.
Yeah. What are some of, just for even together or independently, but as entrepreneurs, we get a lot of lessons learned around running a business or balancing your business with your personal. Maybe if you could share, what are a couple of the things that have been very impactful for you in this journey of just merging and just running a business? What have been some of your lessons learned?
Man, you actually have a lot of interesting, the patience side of it.
Okay. That's a good one though. People don't talk about the patience.
It's like, it actually took a couple of, years to actually just have things moving. Okay. It's like, I feel like in the grand scheme of that is of the world, that is actually the higher power up there is like, okay, after 2 years, things are actually not gonna, like, everything is probably gonna start to fall into place. Then after 5 years, you get to the next level. And then after 7, and then after 10. It's even though you just work so much, but you're just learning a whole lot. Yeah. That by the time things actually start moving and there's like a whole lot of action, right, you're actually prepared for it, right? And I just never understood why, because,
You want things to happen right now.
True. But like, nothing really changed except it was just the right time, right? And it's, once it happens, you actually start seeing it, and just across everything, just the patience. And even when you're actually right there, let's say that you're actually just about to close a client, things of that nature, you have to just, you have to understand that these are human beings too, who are actually trying to find a way, and it's like this whole negotiation in silence, right? Sometimes there is actually no communication for all, but just having that patience to just sit there and say, this is exactly what it is. We're just gonna wait for this and move at the right time. You know what I mean? So patience is a huge aspect for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I would say it was definitely, it's like if this was here, if all of this was here right now, like in a previous version of me, like maybe like 5 years ago, I have no idea how I'd be able to handle all of it. So as you said, it's like we go through these learning processes, and we learn and we learn and we learn, so that we can apply the lessons from those experiences per se.
Well, we want to make sure that folks connect with you, because you definitely have a valuable craft. We all need a website, right?
Exactly.
Especially small business owners, people need to find you.
Yes, exactly.
But we don't know how to maximize that. So tell everybody who's watching, how do they find you guys?
Okay, so we are AdLineUp Renovatio. If you actually want to reach out to us, digital.renovatio.world. Now, Renovatio is spelled renovation without the N at the end, right?
And I think we have that on the screen here.
Okay, awesome. And you could also reach out to us at AdLineUp@renovatio.world.
Is there a phone number?
You want to add some things?
Yes, 860.
You guys couldn't be a digital marketing company without social media. So I know folks can follow you, right, on Facebook, Instagram, and so
AdLineUp
forth.
Renovatio Agency, that is on Facebook, and you could also search the same. That is up on LinkedIn. Of course, you actually see the very, super nice logo that we have here. Just almost like like a Superman, vesting going on. But the thing is, you have like that orange logo there. So yes.
So
Perfect.
awesome. So folks can find AdLineUp Renovatio everywhere. So you look them up, and especially if you're looking for traffic to come to your website or for you to even have an optimized website, you make sure you check out these two fellas. I am Guilaine Menefee at the Black Business Alliance Show. Continue following us, continue connecting with the Black Business Alliance, because we're going to connect you with dynamic companies like this. We have an MBRLF program, which is called Minority Business Revolving Loan Fund. Make sure you come to our website and go to that tab where you can get access to $100,000 in capital, where we'll make sure that we get you the technical assistance you need so you can get funding into your business. Guilaine Menefee at bbusinessalliance.org. Check us out and stay tuned next week for the Black Business Alliance Show.